So Gerhard Bloom, once again, looking at the tyranny and the delusions of the social justice movement. So yeah, recently in Ireland, Dublin, Ireland, massive riots, right? The worst that it has seen in decades. Oh, is this like the riots in France where, tens of thousands of cars were set on aflame and buildings destroyed and by Muslim radicals? Actually, no. This time it's people of Ireland. And the government says, oh, right-wing, fascist adjacent people. No, these are just ordinary citizens sick and tired of the violence from the Islamic world in their midst. Yes, some Algerian stabbed 3 little kids and a school assistant there. 2 5-year-olds and a 6-year-old child. 2 of the children have been released. 1 6-year-old child still in intensive care in the hospital, as is the school assistant. And the complete absence of the government standing up to this, people are angry. People are extremely angry, and I mentioned this before. And I talk about it at length in this book. The government has been denying and suppressing the reality of Islamic violence and the tyranny that is Islam for decades. And people are getting increasingly frustrated, increasingly bitter. And if the government doesn't take matters into its hands in a restrained and responsible fashion, the people of the various countries, across Europe will. And this will be ugly. And once it starts, once the cycle of violence starts, it becomes absolutely nearly impossible to restrain. So the governments need to act quickly. And the government coming after Conor McGregor to saying the truth, speaking the truth about this poisonous militant Islam in its midst, they're coming after him. This is exactly the wrong way to go on this. You try to muzzle people and their righteous anger, it is just going to fuel more righteous anger. Speaking of that, across Europe, right-wing parties, anti-immigrant parties are gaining political strength. Sometimes they're already in office, as in Hungary and Italy, and in other countries coming very close. Recently, what is his name? Geert Wilders in Holland, right? Won. And he's got to form a coalition government. He doesn't have enough to assert control on his own, his party. But he's got things right here, right? Wants to ban the Quran. Banning books. The Quran is advocating violence. It's genocidal, expansionistic, advocating violence. I think you advocate violence, you advocate genocide, should be banned, right? And mosques, get rid of them. Guess how many churches are in Saudi Arabia or synagogues? 0. But United States, Canada, Western Europe, mosques are sprouting up like mushrooms, poisonous mushrooms. Get rid of them. And it used to be the case. I will concede this. There were moderate, accommodationist mosques and Muslims across the world, as it happens. But Iran for the Shias and Saudi Arabia for the Sunnis, they've been funding and supporting fire-breathing imams across the globe, radicalizing communities and countries. This needs to stop. Close those damn mosques. Get them out of here. And close the Islamic schools, right? They're not learning, patriotic lessons from the respective countries that they've moved to. No, they are breeding hate, division, and Islamic militancy. Got to stop. So AfD in Germany, gaining strength rapidly, because no matter how frustrated and angry their country, the people of the country become, the government hasn't done anything. And Italy, right, took power, right? So hopefully Meloni will act and decisively and get rid of these illegal immigrants and those immigrants who just can't play the game of Italian citizenship. Hungary, Viktor Orban. Greece, gaining strength, right wing. Spain, Finland. Sweden, people have absolutely had enough. What are these Muslim immigrants bringing They come en masse. They don't integrate. They live in these enclaves. I was driving, this was several years back, in a taxi through the streets of London, and I looked out the window and I could have sworn I was in downtown Kabul, and I mean that literally. Women dressed like the angels of death and Arabic signs everywhere. They bring honor killings, female genital mutilation, first cousin marriages. Yes, it's a serious problem. Read an interesting article a little while ago about the huge problem of first cousin marriages is having on the British healthcare system. All sorts of stillbirths, but even worse, children born with disfiguring birth defects, catastrophic birth defects, because these Arabs are marrying their cousins, their first cousins. Government, yep, nothing to see here, folks, nothing to see here. Forced suicides. Yep, you shamed your family by, speaking with a non-Muslim young man. Yeah, kill yourself or we will do the honor for you. And so to redeem our lost honor. This happens far too frequently. Happens in Canada, happens in the United States, and all across Western Europe. No. Parents found engaged in this practice, either the death penalty or 25 years in jail, and then deport them back to the shithole countries that they were rescued from. Mass rapes. I talk about this at length in my book. It's a huge problem all across Europe. Gang rapes, serial rapes, the Rotherham scandal, and politicians turn a blind eye, deny it. And Ayaan Hirsi Ali's book, Pray, book-length study of, the rape crisis in Europe that politicians deny. And yes, of course, those terrorist attacks, a priest having his head cut off during mass in France. A school teacher, Samuel Paty, getting his head cut off by showing kids cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad to talk about, the French civil rights and freedom of speech. And it wasn't ISIS. It wasn't some mass terrorist organization, just some offended Muslims, right? Absolutely awful. And I mentioned these women walking around like the angels of death. Get them out of here. There's countries that allow that sort of thing. In fact, it's obligatory. You want to wear that garb of this death cult, this fascist death cult that is Islam, off you go then. And no, I don't care if you go back to that country and they'll kill you. I mentioned this previously. If I'm running through the streets and people are after me to kill me and I run into your door, pound, please let me in, please let me in. And you let me in and you go off to the kitchen to make us a cup of coffee and you see me with a gas can pouring it over your sofa, you have every right to kick my ass out of the street. The appropriate sentiment for me to be expressing is gratitude, but they don't. And you know why they don't? It's part of the globalist, expansionist jihad, right? This is in the Quran. The world that is not under Islam and under Sharia is the house of war. And so they want to turn Western Europe and the world to Islamic law. And no, I will have nothing of it. And I mentioned, like the rioters in Ireland, this ends very badly unless governments get together and act decisively. Anyways, thank you so much for your time and attention. If you liked the video, please do drop a thumbs up. And please do check out my book, Deconstructing Social Justice. It's available on Amazon. Not important because I wrote it. I wrote it because the issues could not be more important. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Bye-bye now.